Of Black and White.
Right,
I'm Dan Perkins, and my co-host Darrell Neely is joining us. We have a special guest today.
Listen
special
to
to me because I have been working with Bill Martinez for maybe 10 years. Can you believe it's been that long, Bill?
Yeah, just about that. Maybe
it is.
It's going to take 12 before you know Bill Martinez.
Bill Martinez.
It still gets a little confusing.
The show
No worries.
Host, Bill Martinez Live. Bill Martinez,
so
the comedian from back in the day. Bill
we've
Martinez,
worked together.
veteran.
We've talked about a lot of
that
different
same
things.
Bill Martinez.
He's in fact an
is
ambassador
now a
for
host
my
on the network.
foundation, Songs and Stories
He
for Soldiers.
took his
He's been
syndicated
both
show
a financial
over
supporter and a public supporter of
individual
veterans and their
stations he
issues.
broadcast to in the morning, and he made
we talked to him
Global
a
Enlightenment his
little
home.
while ago about the network and what we're doing here
So
at
all those
Black and
numbers
White,
come together.
and we asked him if he would be interested in bringing his show
See?
to our listener base. And what did you say, Bill?
I jumped at the opportunity. I mean, there was no hesitation whatsoever. I love what you and Darrell are doing with the network there. It rhymes with the reason of our show. We're both committed to pursuing the truth no matter where it leads. We're not about 8-second sound bites. We're about, being able to go in deep detail, which is what the American, consumer, news consumer is looking for. They're looking for a home that they can go to and get, the full breadth of facts available that's based on the truth and not a prescribed narrative to support a political interest.
That's
Ladies
Bill
and gentlemen, let
Martinez.
me also stop for a moment to say that Mr.
Hey, we got
Martinez
our props.
has been in the
all I
broadcasting business for 50
And you know
years.
something?
He's
And you
one
know
of those
something?
legends.
Angel
And,
had to file one of his hosts yesterday.
I've only known him for 10,
not
so
paying.
only at
For not paying, right?
20% of his time in broadcasting.
$10 a month.
But you're now in 300 markets around the country.
Yeah, 300 plus markets. Yeah,
Why would I want
we've been, continuing to grow, and
Why would I
we're just
want
excited
your host?
with the development and how that's that's been happening.
Well, we're going to launch the show with you next Monday. It'll be on Monday through Friday, 9 to noon, and we are excited about having you as our anchor. So let's move away from the fun a little bit and have a different kind of fun.
Okay.
What do you think about what's going on in this country today, Bill?
Well, it's heartbreaking, for someone, like you, Dan, who's served the country. We have a vested interest. I mean, we defended this country militarily. It was an honor and a pleasure to serve for me as a former Marine. And my dad, it's all part of the family legacy. My dad was a World War II vet, was with Patton at the Battle of the Bulge in the European theater, was a medic. 3 of his sons, I'm the youngest of the 3. There was 9 kids, but 3 of his sons served this country during Vietnam. My oldest brother in the Air Force was career. Second oldest brother was a field radio operator. He was in the heat of it in country in Vietnam. And for me, when I was inducted in the Marine Corps, because of my broadcasting background, and also because the Department of Defense goes, oh my goodness, here's the third brother. This is Saving Private Ryan almost all over again. And because of my broadcasting background, I ended up doing Good Morning Camp Pendleton.
Wow. So what's on your mind today? What's bothering you?
Well, I'm concerned in terms of the integrity of our country. Right now, we've abandoned the truth. We've become amoral. And that has a lot of ramifications. I mean, all the manifestation right now, the fruit of amorality is demonstrated, whether, it's how we deal with COVID vaccine to the point where we're so quick to abandon, our constitutional rights to now mandate vaccines, force people to get vaccinated. There's no consent of the governed. There's no informed consent. We're being lied to, basically. I keep saying on the show, it's like we're mushrooms kept in the dark and being covered with all kinds of manure here. This is what the Biden administration, this is what the Democrats want. They want a compliant constituency. Well, that's not, what the American Revolution started. so many years ago, 245, well, actually longer than that, over 250 years ago. We're about freedom. We're about what the Declaration of Independence notes very clearly, what our Constitution, re-edifies and, clearly states. And there's been an abandonment of that, and at grave cost. And as a result, people are suffering, whether it's COVID, whether it has to do with an election that is quite dubious. We spent 4 years questioning the legitimacy of the previous president, which led to an impeachment. They found nothing. It cost us probably, if you look at the numbers, probably close to $70 million of the people's money to realize it was all a big hoax. And so now here, if you question this last election, you are some sort of conspiratist, and we've only been questioning it for several months. And Dan, look at what's going on. According to Rasmussen and these polls now, they're saying over 50% of Americans, want an audit of the last election, and I don't understand why that's a problem.
So I want to. I've known you for 10 years, going on 11 years, and I in my shows that you've been on, your shows that I've been on, I've always tried to treat you with respect and the dignity afforded to your reputation. I want to ask a question, and I want you to understand that I'm not out to get you. I just want to ask the question for you as a man of experience to help me understand a difference. When we were children, we willingly went in and got the polio vaccine. Mm-hmm. Took the cubes or whatever it was, or the spike. We never questioned it. At least our generation didn't. Mm-hmm. And yet that is the last major inoculation of a population of any country that has taken place until now. But there seems to be so much of a pushback. What happened in the country that we were willing to accept on faith that the polio vaccine was going to help save lives, but we're not willing to extend to that same condition the COVID-19 vaccines?
Well, at the basis of it is trust, Dan. There was a different trust level then. And of course, what's happened cumulatively over the years when it comes to pharmaceuticals, before polio, we had thalidomide, right? Mm-hmm. In the 50s and 60s. And what did that deliver? It delivered an increase of babies not being born. There was miscarriages that occurred. We had malformed babies. Children to this day that are citizens of this country that were the effect of thalidomide. And all in the same way. It was all, hey, this is going to help women deal with nausea. It seemed very innocent, not a problem. But look how long it took, Dan, for them to correct, what was going on. The money interests in our country that have affected people and their health is just a disaster. And so what we see is a repeat of years gone by. And they don't trust it. And look at the numbers. It's been further complicated because they've not been very transparent. They've to protect their own egos, their scientific position. It's almost like, Dan, these scientists have become modern gods, and you can't question them. But look what's happening now. The numbers are coming out, and they said, look, if we got vaccine was going to be the answer. That, take off the mask, everything's good. America's open for business, we're all free again. And then we're finding out an inordinate number of people who've been vaccinated are the ones that are dealing with this recent variant. And so people are freaking out. There's hesitancy about taking the vaccine, because there is a grave lack of credibility within the institution, I would say health-wise and even within our government.
Bill, it's interesting because I look at it and I say, I happened to have an opportunity yesterday to do a extensive background piece investigation that I'm working on in Florida, our state here, with I won't say who, but the people in the Florida Department of Health. And we talked about what was going on and the stories that are out there there was a story this morning, Bill, you may have seen it, where Governor DeSantis accused the CDC of double counting the count of people who were sick. And in turn, it was because of political reasons. Now the CDC seems to admit that they did in fact double count the number of people that have the virus in the state of Florida. The person I talked to at the Florida Health was saying the CDC changes the format of reporting almost every day, so you never know. And she said that when I was speaking to them, that she spends most of her time dealing with people like me in the press who are trying to get a straight story. She does the best she can, but the numbers don't jive between the CDC and Florida. And I think, and with the way the CDC is talking about, this is a question, Bill, that I in a sense, I love to ask. If we get the vaccination, and the CDC says that we're actually better transmitters of the virus, the people who have the vaccine, and the people who don't have the vaccine, what the hell happened?
Exactly.
What is the value of the vaccine? I mean, I've got a 9-year-old grandson who lives in Virginia, and his friend tested positive for
I apologize. I don't know what's breaking in here.
I love it, whatever it is, Bill. I love it. You got that good music going on, brother. It's called Apple. It's called Apple. They don't want you to speak, and they don't want you to get the information. They don't want you to give the information, Bill.
Yeah, probably they're creeping in on us. I apologize. But,
no, it's not your fault. So he had to go get a test, and I asked the question: was he getting a Delta test or a COVID vaccine, COVID virus test? And his parents, my son and daughter-in-law, had no clue what he was getting. And I don't even know, Bill, I can't find any evidence of any specific test for the Delta variant.
I'm not aware of one either, Dan. I agree with you. Yeah.
And I said to the person from the Florida Health, part of the problem is that the American people have lost trust and confidence in the healthcare professionals, administrations in the state and the federal government, and that's part of the reason why they don't trust. They're changing the numbers. They're changing what's going on, and 1 mask, 2 masks, no masks. And we got Fauci this week who didn't say anything about the 700,000 people at Lollapalooza in Chicago with the mayor, no mask. But the thing about Obama's party on Martha's Vineyard with no masks. But he went after the motorcycle rally. And last year they did it, and over 450,000 people, and there were no cases. So the message is it's really, really difficult. I don't think it's so much, Bill, that people don't necessarily trust the vaccine. There are a lot of medical professionals who say, I just don't know. I don't know whether this is going to work. And unlike the thalidomide, which you talked about earlier in this discussion, all the vaccine manufacturers have been indemnified. So if 2 years, 3 years down the road, 5 years down the road, we got some serious health care problems, you can't sue the pharmaceutical companies. They've been indemnified.
Exactly.
So, go ahead, sir.
No, I'm just saying that adds to the whole narrative and the lack of trust. I mean, just from the get-go, like you said, Dan, they've not been transparent. They haven't been forthright, and it's okay. We not that we expect the scientists to get it, because we understand science. Science, at its very root, experience is asking questions, right? Because you don't have all the answers. But for some reason, and I don't know, you want to blame Donald Trump or blame the media or whatever, they've positioned Dr. Fauci as some sort of authority on everything. And it was spurious to begin with, because Dr. Fauci, I believe, abandoned the American people early on from the get-go. He knew he knew that this came from the Wuhan laboratory. It didn't come from some wet market. He just had people, for 18 months? And against Barack Obama's directive, he went ahead and invested in the Wuhan laboratory. They built it out. His people were there. They came back to the country, said, hey, we're out of here. These guys are a bunch of cowboys. There's going to be a problem there. And so here we were, here we are now a year, 14 months later, and there's an outbreak. Well, guess what? It wasn't like it came without warning. But, if you listen to what Dr. Fauci was saying, it was all a cover-up. And then really what it was, Dan, what we're hearing, and Rand Paul hit it right, the nail right on the head, it was about gain of function. And to me, and when the people I'm talking about gain of function, I said, that's just a fancy word for biological warfare. That's what that is. And they got to be careful about how they present it. And Fauci has framed this in such a way that it seems so innocent. But no, this is very dangerous because you're not going to, in terms of gain of function, you might say, oh, it's for defense purposes only. Oh, really? Okay, well, it's a fine line between defense and offense, Dan, as you know.
Sure.
And you have nefarious players like we've had with China. I mean, here it is. This thing's an outbreak. Now, already there was a virologist, the top virologist there who survived in China who came to America, and she said this wasn't an accident. Right. And you notice the mainstream media, they were like, God's frozen shows, and they said nothing. They didn't even pick up on this. I mean, Tucker Carlson did a pretty good interview with this gal and laid it out right there, and it's like, where is the outrage? What's going on? I mean, our country was attacked. And the attacks from China have continued, whether it has to do with this, with this virus. We were attacked with cyber warfare over an election. I mean, there is clear evidence that China interfered with the 2020 election. And all this is being exposed, even as you and I are talking right now with Mike Lindell's 72-hour symposium. And the data evidence is right there.
Well, we've only got a few minutes left. I want to stay in the same thread. Oh, Darrell, I'm sorry.
Did you forget me, brother? Oh, no, you didn't. Okay, I'm screen critical race theory.
Yes, that's where I was going to go next.
Oh, well, I got to do it because I have a question. Bill, you're truly more so a legend, and you're really. I mean, you've been a lot for a lot of people. You've been on the radar, as they say. Do you believe that the American identity to the rest of the world has been tarnished because of our woke society and its acceptance of critical race theory and BLM and all that hoopla that wants to control the mind of their Orwellian stories? And don't forget socialism.
Right. I agree with you, Darrell. It has been. I mean, here, go back to the Reagan days. In fact, I was just talking with Nick Adams, who's written a book, a comparative on Reagan and Trump. And we talked about that, the shining light on a hill that it always draws. And that is the magnet. That is the beacon of freedom. Even as compromised as America may seem to be right now, Darrell, I refuse to lose hope, because like any movement like this, go back to World War II. It wasn't 100% of the Germans, only 10% of the Germans that embraced fascism and did the stuff. The other 90% just said, hey, I just want to live in peace. I want to be left alone and get out of the way. But we cannot tolerate that. We cannot have another Holocaust. We can't have another World War II Germany. And the time for silent majority of America is done. I mean, the season is you got to speak up, and that's what's happening right now. You talk about critical race theory. Who is it that's leading the way? God bless the mama bears of America who are storming. These school board meetings and taking over these school boards and saying, no, it ain't going to happen. You are not going to indoctrinate my child with this bogus historic narrative that you want to put out there. Nobody has ever claimed that America is great. But man, Darrell, we've come a long way. I mean, look at it. I have to laugh in one part, and I said this on the air, that we have more interracial marriages than we've ever had in America. All right. Now you go in and you teach these kids critical race theory, and you tell them black is good, white is bad. So now they go home for dinner, and mom says, "Hey, what'd you learn today?" "Well, Mom, we learned that you're black, you're good. Dad's white, he's bad." That's the piece.
Oh my God! That goes back to the old story where the Lone Ranger type stories back in the good day, and he was riding a horse. He wore a white horse but a black outfit, or the bad guy was always black and the good guy was always wearing white. The devil and the angel. But do you believe that America has lost its emphasis on God, country?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That is at the foundation of everything. We've become an amoral nation. We've turned our back on God. And I know that some people are looking at this virus as maybe God's judging us. And I said, well, I don't know for a fact that he's judging us, but the fact that you even think that he is, how about if you act like as if he was? And what should you do different? I just attended a major seminar here a couple of weeks ago, and it was interesting because there were a lot of pastors, that were coming on. There was 50 speakers, and pastors were there. And the thing I kept looking for, I go, what happened to 2 Chronicles 7:14? And I think what happened is people got tired of talking about, if my people who are called by my name. They say, oh, we've heard that over and over again. We got to say something. No, that is still the one thing about God. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever. He gives us the example. Here's the prescription. When you guys mess up, okay, and you find yourself in chaos and confusion, like where America is right now, we have, suicides on the increase, marriages falling apart, kids against their dads, just like Malachi 4, what Malachi 4 talks about. But I see what's happening, Darrell, is the hearts of the children are starting to turn towards the fathers, and the fathers' hearts are turning toward the children. So Malachi 4 is starting to be realized. But again, the most important thing, to your point, is we have to admit, we've got to ascend to God humbly and come before him and say, look, we have sinned, we've messed up, we've turned our back. We can't, Darrell, how are you going to handle the culture, as Dan was talking about earlier, the cultural war? How do you handle the situation that now it's not just, men and women, it's 70 different gender options that are involved. I mean, just, on the face. How do you deal with that when God says, you know what, I really meant it when I said I made you male and female. I didn't make you some 70 derivatives of the gender. See, but this is all part of the confusion that all comes out when you turn your back from God. You become like, there's another verse in the Bible that talks about people without vision will perish. Well, people without vision will cast off restraint. You're like that hot air balloon that's been punctured and you're pell-mell all over the place. That's what's going on right now, is that we've lost that, and that vision comes from God. That is revelatory vision that only comes from God, that anchors you in the truth. And we are disanchored, and that's why we're all over the place, and why up is down and down is up. And you sit there and go, wait a minute, we're going to open up our borders and just let the people come in and be a portal for sex trafficking and drug mules and gang warfare and all this other stuff that's going on. And oh yeah, along the way, forget about your rich history of, even great things that you've done. Let's topple down the statues and monuments, and let's cancel presidents and everything like that, to what end? And the thing is all this stuff was, we've written about, it's been written about in Orwell and other publications that we read as kids growing up and in college and that, and we are here. We are here in the midst of the madness.
Brother, I mean, you just described it. Lack of education, lack of trust, lack of accountability, lack of faith. We lacking. And the problem that biggest problem we're having is we're just so indoctrinated. I hate to say it that way. It's been years. It's been a formula that's been created years and years ago. It's not recent. And what they did is they slipped it under the system and slipped it through legislation and slipped it into law. And now it's slipped into our pocket and it's slipping in our lap, and we're slipping out of our own existence.
Exactly. But remember, Darrell, it's still the consent of the governed. and we have, by God's grace, and I pray that God would give us an opportunity to realize a revival of epic proportions. There was a noted religious figure, Charles Finney, who said that revival happens when it's most needed. And I'll tell you, if there was ever a time, and it's not just about America, it's the world. And the fact of the matter is, if we look in the world, there's more revival happening outside of America in places that you would never think were possible, where, Christians and people of faith are being so oppressed. I mean, what we're dealing with right now is a hangnail by comparison with what those people are dealing with, right? So revival is exploding overseas more than here in America. But the fact of the matter is that America needs to wake up. And I'm starting to see that. I mean, I don't know if you saw what Bill Maher admitted to the other day, which I thought was quite profound, that here you have this progressive who admits that socialism is a killing form of governance, that it is devastating, that, we need to move away from this. So people are starting to find out the hard way. And sometimes it's like the law of gravity. I say you have to fall off the roof to realize the law of gravity is still in existence. And when you hit the ground, you go, okay, maybe I need to make some better choices here, right?
Okay, so with Bill Maher, I give him credit for that one. But the problem I have currently is that this is my country. This is the land of the free, the home of the brave. One we used to, put our hand on the heart when we were children and rise before the American flag and say our Pledge of Allegiance. The issue I have is woke people.
Yes, right. No, and that's right. But the thing is, see, we need the Bill Mahers. I don't want to extricate him. I want to bring him. The fact that he's waking up and realizing, okay, I mean, so what? People want to experiment and try something, but it's okay. With evidence now that you have, I give him credit for, involving his intellect, because the dangerous thing, which I said earlier with Dan, is that we can get so, ideologically focused that we render ourselves stupid, and that's what's happening with a lot of Americans. But, some people like Bill Maher are starting to wake up, and we need the Bill Mahers of America to speak up, have a little satire for us to have a good time. Darrell, I was talking with a cancer doctor here the other day, and he said that, laughter is so healing. I mean, what it does to our body, I mean, it's so dramatic in terms of how it heals us. In fact, Dan, you might remember this. Remember Cousins, Mr. Cousins, who was, I think he was a publisher of the Washington Post. I believe that was it. When he was diagnosed with cancer, he told the doctors and the nurses, he says, just bring me vitamin C and all the Desi Arnaz, I Love Lucy comedies and the Three Stooges and all that. And the doctors would go by his room and they would just hear him laughing his head off and the whole deal. And guess what? He overcame cancer.
Wow. Okay. So I guess the woke people are waking up finally.
Yeah, they are. And Darrell, and they're waking up because of people like you and people like Dan, others like us who believe in the truth, that even though they want to leave, leave paradise for a while and go on their grand experiment, it's like, hey, look, we're holding the fort down. We're holding the fort down for Americans, for the American dream, and we'll continue to fight the good fight, for our kids and our grandkids and the generations ahead to come. We're not about to let go of it. And by the grace of God, and I pray that God would give us an opportunity to revive this nation, that we will seek his face, turn for our wicked ways, and see God's mighty hand heal our land.
Bill Martinez, I love you, man. I love you, man. You hit it on the spot. Dan, take it away, man. Do what you do. I can't talk no more, brother. Listen, Bill Martinez is the man. Thank you. You told the truth and you hit it right on point. I can't do no better than that.
So let me, first of all, let me thank you, Bill, for joining us today. To our audience, we are expanding from Black and White show only to the Black and White Network. Bill is going to be our lead dog. He's going to start off every morning from 9 to noon, and you'll be able to hear him in his show. And then we're adding other people that we'll be bringing on in the next 30 days to help round out the network.
It was so well planned.
We had an incredible week last week.
Follow the money.
We brought in 1.5 million listeners.
I mean, last week,
and
me and Dan had 1.5 million listeners.
People like Bill who understand audience size for a show to be 10 weeks old and bringing in 1.5 million listeners, especially with Darrell and me as sitting in the chairs, says that the message is right. What we're doing is trying to help people, and we hope to expand our network so that people will be able to hear Bill Martinez and his commentary on an ongoing basis. He'll be on every Monday through Friday from 9 to noon, and only thing I can say is,
weekends.
Thank you for joining us and joining our network.
I'm excited, Dan, and thank you, and Darrell as well. I'm so appreciative of the opportunity. I'm looking forward to this new partnership that we're working on together.
Thank you.
Brother, you got me in a tear over here, because, I mean, you hit it, listen, you took it straight home. And the only thing I can say is, when are all these woke people going to wake up and smell that coffee? You know, it's like when you used to be a little child and you woke up in the morning, you smell that breakfast cooking in the morning, you knew it. Oh wow, all right, I can get out of bed, I struggle to go to the bathroom, brush your little teeth and do the da-da-da, and then you go in there and you have breakfast and you're just like, wow, that was what I need. Well, guess what? Bill Martinez Live is what you need. Everybody, Bill Martinez Live is what you need. Because he just woke me up. I haven't yarned once. Thanks, Dan.
Thank you. We'll be in touch, Bill.
Oh, you got it. Thanks.